Trump and Netanyahu met right after Trump met with Zelensky. So Trump met with Zelensky at 9:30 a.m. They sat there for an hour or an hour and a half, and then at 11 a.m. Trump met Netanyahu. I don't think this is a coincidence, especially since Ukraine recently happened to get involved in the war with Iran. And Ukraine has a lot of interests in the fall of the regime of the Islamic Republic. And last month, His Royal Highness King Reza Pahlavi was also in Odessa. And presumably he was there. He in a conference, he gave an interview and a speech. But presumably that's not all he did there. And presumably Ukraine is involved in arming the Iranian people with drones. We don't know this for sure, but this is like reading between the lines. This appears to be something that's happening. So, how did the meeting go? So Netanyahu was in the U.S. talking with an expanded forum, meaning the room had him, some aides, Vance, Hegseth, Rubio, Trump, and I think maybe Susie Wiles was there. I hope she left the room like for the actual meeting, but she was at least there for the photo op. And Netanyahu said that this was the best meeting he has ever had with Trump. That's hyperbole, and you could argue, well, he's just saying it for internal reasons, like political reasons, like, oh, he's trying to show that he's still besties with the president. I don't think that's the case. I think his relationship with Trump is no longer a political asset since the MOU. People have soured, like the public in Israel have soured on Trump somewhat. Okay, so Soapbox is saying this is highly relevant. Oh no, Ukraine has been involved quite a while. People do not know this, but I can explain a bit more. Yeah, so I have reasons to think so as well. I don't know for sure, and I would imagine that this would be classified. So like I can't say for sure. I have reasons to assume, and I know they might be the same reasons as you. I have reasons to assume. Oh, okay, we have this unclassified now. Okay, so feel free to share in the chat. But yeah, so they're involved, basically. They're most likely involved. Okay, good question from Shauna before I continue. Do the Israelis blame Trump or Vance more for the crap MOU? It depends on how involved you are, because a lot of people don't know the intricacies of like internal American politics, so they know that Vance is a vice president, but a lot of people just, oh, Trump signed a surrender deal, he's so weak, and so on. And even like the people who know put the onus on Vance, but at the same time, Trump had to sign off on this. And it wasn't just Vance, it was Vance, it was Kushner, and it was Witkoff. I think it was a mistake. I think they gave them too much optics-wise, even though they knew it was likely not going to move on to any other phase. But I think they should have demanded more on the optics. I guess they got stressed because of the trying to clear out the strait. Yeah, a monkey saying, so back to Netanyahu, if there will be a regime change, it would be the best meeting he's ever had, period. Absolutely. And that's what we're all hoping for. And Chuck E. Cheese 5251 is saying, if Russia does collapse or surrender, Ukraine is going to have a lot of excess drones with many bored drone operators. I think it's a good problem to have, and they already started selling those. So even this problem is solvable. The optics at Amulin's funeral were epic. Yeah, so Netanyahu talked to Hegseth and Rubio in the funeral. He talked to, he also had a small conversation with Zelensky. Although, again, presumably Zelensky was also involved, even if not directly, he was part of the conversation between Trump and Netanyahu, presumably. At the very least, by sending the message that we're on board or sending the message that we're not on board or whatever. All right. By the way, Russia is collapsing. Putin is going to be assassinated by Russians before he'll be able to conquer Kyiv. We might be seeing the end of the Russian Federation under Putin. This war might have been the death knell of Putin's regime, which would be great. I don't know what comes after him, but Putin is also a destructive force for the West. Now, we don't know what happened. We know that Netanyahu met with Trump and so Netanyahu met with had the larger meeting. Apparently, he also met one-on-one, face-to-face, like a private meeting with just Vance. And today, he's going to sit with Hegseth. We don't know what this means. I know that some officials in Israel have been clamoring for a chance to sit one-on-one with Vance to straighten things out and create a better relationship for the future. Now, meanwhile, the regime in Iran is trying to rearm. They're getting around 400 RPGs, anti-missile, anti-aircraft RPGs from China within the next few weeks. So presumably, if you want to do something now, you do it before that happens. At the same time, we've had some fire exchanges recently. The Iranians are still striking. Let me see if I can find the news article. Brent is now up to $90. They struck the base in Jordan, a surprise strike, and they barely managed to get out with no one harmed. And the Saudis and Americans, in response, struck, or that was part of the response, struck Hashd Shabi in Iraq. And there are at least 20 killed and 32 injured in these strikes. Meanwhile, yeah, so Sean is saying that's smart on Israel's part in case Vance ends up president, God forbid. Yeah, we all hope for Rubio, but we absolutely should prepare for the eventuality that Vance is the even if he's the next president. So Chuck E. Cheese is saying, problem is, I don't know if Vance is going to allow Israel a way to change his mind. It was made up before the TPUSA speech. I really don't know what Vance's internal thought process is. I believe him when he says he's moderate on Israel, but moderate is like between the people who are very pro and very anti. He's like neutral. It's like, okay, Israel. I think it's a wrong position to hold if you're American because of everything you're getting out of Israel as the one proper ally that the U.S. has that isn't mooching off of the U.S. And especially it's even the small claims for mooching are going to become moot once the new MOU is signed, where Israel is gradually replacing direct military subsidies for buying American weapons with R&D. So just joint development of weaponry.